Hello, welcome to Jason Cavness Experience. I'm your host, Jason Cavness. I'm also CEO and founder of CavnessHR, where we deliver HR to companies with 4 and fewer people with an AI-powered platform while providing access to HR business partner. We're also doing our CavnessHR Wefunder right now, and we're also providing 7 ebooks from our 300 conversations on the podcast. Today, we're doing something different. Today, we're turning the tables. My good friend Sierra is going to interview today and talk about our crowdfund that we're doing. So, Sierra, thanks for doing this.
Thank you. It's fun to be on the other side of the interview.
Cool.
All right, so we have some really good questions lined up to get to know you, your background, some things I've been excited to talk to you about CavnessHR, your story. Maybe let's begin at the beginning. So I learned that you were student body president in college, which, you know, I get maybe that was the beginning of a political career you might resume later. I'm kidding. But how did that leadership shape you? What got you interested into that? How did you get elected? Like, just tell us your story about that experience.
So it's funny. So a junior year in college, right? I was like student center, right over, and so doing stuff in college. And it was time for like the election to come up, right? And there's 2 people I knew that were running for like, they said, we're running for president, right? I'm listening to them. I'm like, man, I'm thinking, man, y'all boys are fucking jackasses, right? Like, man, like there's no way. And so I decided to run just because I didn't like what they're doing, right? At the time, like, I'm introverted, right? I don't like talking in front of people. And the reason I won, somehow I put it off. I spoke in front of a business school, right? And like 300 people, right? And the people said, this is the best speech we ever had. Everyone said, we voted for you because of this speech in good business, right? So learn that lesson I learned. I mean, you got to put yourself out there, right? Mm-hmm. Even you don't think you're ready, even you think you're scared, even think, you know, like, man, like, I can't do this. You got to put yourself out there.
Yeah, that's a lot of what leadership is in a lot of ways is showing up. So you were also selected for officer candidate school. So you were in the Army. A lot of folks know that you're a veteran, but tell us about that officer school experience, the selection process, what that meant to you.
Yeah, officer school in the military, if it's Army, Navy, it's really hard, right? For example, when we started, there was 125 of us, and there was probably like 10,000 applicants, right? So it's very hard to get into, right? Very hard, right? They pick top of the top, right? And officer school, like, it's very hard, right? The joke in officer school is like, whatever class you're in, that's the last hard class. Everyone after you is easy because they make it easier, right? And so we started 125. We only graduated like 33.
Ooh.
Yeah. They would do stuff like, you know, like the first 10 days. So you're up all day doing stuff. So suppose you wake up at 6 in the morning, right? No, you wake up 5 in the morning. You have 5 minutes to do everything. Shower, everything, 5 minutes, right? Of course, 120 people can do it in 5 minutes, right? So you get all these negative points. They yell at you stuff or whatever. And so you go to breakfast, you have 30 minutes to eat. Not each person 30 minutes, but when first person goes in, the clock starts.
Oh, so that's like your cue time, like when you're in line, too.
Yeah. So like if 30 minutes pass, only 50 of you eat, then other people don't eat, right? And then you go to class all day, it's boring or whatever, and you're trying to stay awake. You come back, and then you finally go to bed like 10:30, right? That's smoking overtime. So 10:30, you go to bed. But at midnight, they wake you up for a midnight run. So at midnight, you go for a 5-mile run. And so you get back in the room 2 in the morning. Of course, you can't go to sleep, right? So that was like the first 18 days.
Now, do you guys get to shower after the midnight run? Or is it right back to bed?
It's back to bed, yeah.
Ooh.
Everybody's funky and nasty, yeah. And they would do stuff like, I played games with you, of course, right? So we're in a class, and you always had a canteen with you with water, right? And one time, one of the instructors went to a guy and said, hey, you know, they called you a candidate, right? Hey, candidate Jones, you look thirsty. I get past you, drink your water. I'm not thirsty. What the fuck you say to me? You better drink this fucking water. And so, you know, there's no EO, none of that stuff, right? And of course, this is back in like 1998. Things might have changed. And so he drinks the whole canteen, right? And we all know what's going to happen, right? 10 minutes later, another dude comes in. Candidate, why's your canteen empty? And just smokes all of us, right?
Man.
So stuff like that, yeah.
And so, but what does that do in terms of like setting up your career? Like you make it through all of that.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, what happens to the guys who don't make it? And then what happens to folks like you who did make it?
I mean, you don't make it, you just go back to your regular Army job, you know?
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing bad really happens, but you have the stigma like, man, you made it this far, you can make it, right? It just means you just can't quit, right?
Yeah.
But it's insane.
So then you're on the officer track after you pass. And another thing I learned about you is that, I'm not surprised to hear this, but your units that you were leading were consistently more successful and outperforming when it came to like at the time the benchmarks for other units. What at the time did you think was making your units different and so successful? And as you look back on it now, what other things have you noticed upon reflection that were the difference maker?
I think the big thing, whatever leadership role you have to take care of people, right? What's the thing? Like, take care of people, take care of you, right? Mm-hmm. And one thing I did might have been kind of different. Like, when I took a new job, within the 36 days, I got rid of 1 or 2 people, right? Mm. Like, these 2 people performed to go, right? And one time I did it different. Like, one time I took a job over, and actually I got rid of the person. But every time I talked to the person, oh, the so-and-so before you did it this way. You know, every time I said, oh, so-and-so did this way. That dude's not here no more, right? So if I had to get rid of him, right? And you just have to treat people power, right? Another thing too, like, even if someone that gives you like bad ideas all the time, you have to throw them a bone once in a while, right? Like once in a while, okay, this some crazy shit, let's do it. Oh shit, that actually works, right?
Yeah.
And plus, your people know if you're going to take care of them or not take care of them.
Yeah, I love that.
And plus, I'm really competitive too. You know, I might seem like I'm very competitive. Yeah, like I always been tell, like, you know, either you're a Super Bowl champion or you're not, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, well, you wouldn't go through all that trouble in officer school to not be competitive.
No.
I wouldn't think.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so you retire. You've now hosted over 300 podcast episodes, 70 books. You run Seattle's Got Tech. Why has the community and ecosystem you've been building and a part of been so important to you?
I mean, it's a cliche giving back, you know, but it's about giving back, you know, showing, providing value, doing stuff for other people, right? I mean, it's a community here, right? I mean, it has negative things here. You know, people criticize it for some things, but most part, people want to do things, build great products, and people generally just get along here, right? They want to help each other out. There's a lot of like good stuff going on here. I just want to be part of that.
Yeah, when you think about all the good stuff going on here, you know, there's so much going on, particularly like within tech. There's all these investors, all this innovation, students, the whole gamut that you've supported, platform. Why HR? Why now with human resources, especially when the headlines say the machines are coming and we don't need people?
I mean, the machines are coming. So I'll tell a funny story, right? I think all the time, like, why did I get involved with HR? It's totally around, right? So when I was young, now when the party started, I still remember, like 18, 19 years old, right? And so my life wasn't doing that good, right? I'm like, I need to do something. So I decided to join the Army. But I told the recruiter, hey, I need something where I need it like sooner or later, right? Okay, I took the test. I came back. Okay, there's 2 jobs. You can leave within a month, right? Okay, what are they? So one job was a parachute repairman, right? So the people jump on the airplanes, the parachute get torn up. There are people that actually sew them up, right? Sew them up. And so the video is like 100 dudes in this hot ass factory. They're sweating. It's hot as fuck, right? And like, man, that don't get good. And I could only go to North Carolina or Georgia. And it would be like in summertime, right? Next video was an office environment, nothing but nice looking females, very sexy, you know, very cool, you know, like. And I could go to Germany. I'll take that one. But the Army being the Army, my first job in Germany was a unit full of dudes, and the first month I was in the field. So I didn't know people like the first month in Germany. So yeah, the Army, they never lied to you, but they never tell the whole truth.
So you kind of got the honeypot bait and switch on
that one.
Yes,
definitely, yeah. I did pretty good at HR in the Army, you know, did a lot of stuff in the Army, and then just kept doing it in the civilian world, so to speak.
Yeah, and on that note, obviously the military and civilian world very different in how you handle personnel, organization, HR. In your time being in HR as a civilian, consulting with leaders, organizations, what have you noticed tends to be what's broken or dysfunctional in HR for small businesses?
So first I go to the Army. In the Army, the disconnect is there's a lot of people in the Army who are leaders. They're like, okay, I rank you. I know more of this than you do, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you've never done this before, right? So that's the mentality they have, unfortunately. And the civilian world, it's not the same thing. It's just like, it's almost an afterthought with HR, right? Everyone thinks, what example I'll do, you hear all the time, I'm an expert recruiter. I'm an expert hiring manager. Are you really? Like, all your hires have been a hit? I refuse to believe that, right? Like, too many people say they're expert when they're not, unfortunately, right? Mm-hmm. And of course, like small business, what is small business, right? You know, according to SBA, a small business, anything with 500 people below, that's I don't know if that's a small business, you know.
Yeah.
It's no matter priorities, right? HR, they take care of once it's too late, you know. Oh, we should have done this, we should have done that. Yeah, you should have done that a long time before, you know. Or we won't get caught. I mean, maybe not, but you know, I like to help you. It's not like the government has like people going to your business every day. But problem is, sooner or later, if you do something wrong, one of your employees is going to drop a dime on you, so to speak, right? Mm. And they come and look at everything. Because if you're doing this one thing wrong, odds are you're doing everything wrong. And that's like more money you got to pay for fines.
Yeah. Well, let's let's get specific, and because you've consulted and had some great results with so many entrepreneurs and business owners. Tell me a little bit about your client Anna. You told me a little bit that she was really struggling with some things in her like HR small business. It kind of sounds like Anna's story really characterizes some of these challenges that not only you currently help with, but are kind of common pain points and dysfunction. So tell us about Anna, what you were able to do for her.
Yeah, Anna is like most small business owners. Like they want to do HR, right? Most like my clientele usually like the small business owner who knows HR is important, right? Like if someone's out there's like we don't need HR, I don't have time to educate them, right? But the people like Anna, like they know HR is important, right? They can afford it, right? Because she tried like an HR person like me, couldn't afford it, like you couldn't afford it. Then she tried the outsource HR, too inflexible, didn't do what they wanted. And the HR consultants and the HR consultants, that's why I want to put out business, right? Because most of them overcharge the price and delivering value. And then you had what's called the ad hoc HR, where Anna hired a bookkeeper to HR, right? So now,
like a bookkeeper, like an accountant.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
So instead of her doing bookkeeping percent of the time, she only does like it's half. Both things are screwed, right? And mainly, and they think like if you have to be able to listen to your HR person, right? Like HR can't tell you what to do, right? They should be telling you what to do. They should be recommending you what you do, right? It's up to you whether you want us to or not, right? But yeah, there's a lot of good people out there doing some good things.
Yeah, and then when you were able to work with Anna, what were some of the outcomes and what made the difference for her?
So one thing I know with, it's a good example. So she actually had to hire a social media person on a contract to do social media for, right? For whatever reason, they had a disagreement, and the social media person quit. But when she quit, she deleted all Anna's social media. And so Anna's like, I'm not, but the person wanted the final paycheck. Anna's like, I'm not giving you a final paycheck until you do this back for me, right? And so the person was going to go to the Department of Labor here in Seattle and say, hey, I'm a contractor. She's not paying my money about an employee, right? And I was like, well, you're not an employee, you're a contractor. But I said, what did this person do? But Anna, it was just contracting paper. Everything Anna had to do was like she was an employee. I said, Anna, I can tell what they're going to do, but this looks like she's an employee. And what makes it worse, they're going to look and see you have 30 other contractors. They're going to assume these 30 should be employees too. So you're not going to have to pay fine for her, but all the other contractors. I would just pay this bit of money and do this right. So stuff like that, right?
Yeah, it sounds like she got herself in a real bind that in working with somebody like you could have been a bit more proactive, especially if you're not, moonlighting your bookkeeper. You could get that kind of help, right?
Yeah.
I heard you mention a few things. There's ad hoc, there's outsource, all these different flavors of HR support and services. Tell us a little bit about those, the difference, and why working with somebody like you can really have a positive impact, proactive impact on navigating all of that.
Yeah. So with the outsourced company HR like ADP, TriNet, I mean, they're really for big business, right? They don't care about you for small business, right?
So more than 500 folks.
Yeah, and like I have a friend, I have a person who she bought ADP last October for a company, and they're still onboarding like 8 months later, right?
Oh man.
And like it's ridiculous,
so
right?
But what do they do in the meantime then?
They're still doing HR on their own, pretty much, right?
So they're pretty much kind of having to pay double.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And then with ad hoc HR, it doesn't matter, like, hey, John Bob, you're doing a great job as a bookkeeper. Do HR too, right? But you're not paying them for a job, right? You're still paying for they're only doing one job, right?
But when somebody does that for like a bookkeeper, the bookkeeper example, that's really just related to payroll HR, right? Like just that one function of HR. So that's not talent.
No,
that's not compliance, right? Like.
And you bring a good point. Like HR is so vast, right? It's like when someone says I'm an HR expert, like, are you really? Like you're an expert in payroll and benefits and talent, all of it? I don't know.
Workforce development.
Yeah, I don't know. You might be thinking of too highly of yourself.
Yeah, because that's a lot to especially put on a bookkeeper to cover for you. And so you talked a little bit about where these approaches can be a bit of a mismatch. When it comes to like the needs of small businesses, you see, especially right now with things going on with AI, people are getting pitched and promised all kinds of things. What do you see are some of the places where some of these promises and pitches with tools, solutions really fall short, and where should people really look alive out there?
Yeah, I mean, some of these tools are good, but they're like, you gotta, like, you can obviously go to ChatGPT or Grok or whatever, put like, how to hire someone, obviously, right? But is it based on your situation, on your experience? Like it's all different, right? You have to have some kind of human element. I think you can use AI as a baseline, but you got to use your experience and job skills, whatever, as the final push through. I think.
Yeah, and that's an excellent point, because when you think about there's tools, there's services, but you're somebody who in my opinion, has made a very good argument for the fact that small businesses are still underserved despite all of these different tools, pitches, proposals, solutions. Tell our audience a little bit why you see this big opportunity in small business still being there.
I mean, because like, even though there's all these tools out here, you still have to take time to do it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, as a small business, you're doing all this stuff, right? Like, I kind of joke around as a start founder, like, I get told marketing should be a priority, tech should be a priority, all these priorities, right? But what should be a priority is what you need to do, right? And HR is like, there's tools out to do it, but why do it yourself, right? When someone like myself can do it for you.
Yeah, and you know, you also bring up an interesting point about more tools, more options. Decision fatigue is real.
Exactly. And the Cheese Factory menu, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the book of appetizers, chapter 3, verse 2, right?
3 minutes later, you're still on page 6.
Yeah, and also, I really like your perspective on this idea that more sometimes means more. Mm-hmm. The more tools you have mean you need more expertise. That means you need more time to integrate. Means you need more people, not less. So coming back to your services you offer, what would you say is your primary differentiator? You talked to maybe Anna when she was kind of going through her options, or those folks signed up for ADP and now they're paying for 2 like payroll systems. These folks have been approached by Gusto, they've been approached by Rippling. What is kind of like your elevator pitch around what differentiates you?
I think the big difference is, of course, we're going to have an AI platform to help you out. One thing that makes us different from Gusto and Rippling and other places, they all get HR people, right? But like, suppose you call another company, you might talk to Tom on Monday, Susan on Thursday, Jason on Friday. With us, it's the same person each time, right? So it's kind of embedded in your team. I mean, they don't work for you full time, but you need an HR problem that you talk the same person over and over again, right? So I think that's the biggest differentiator. And plus, too, we look at this more like an engineering problem, right? Mm-hmm. Versus just a soft skill, right? Because I think engineering can solve a lot of this HR stuff.
Yeah, and please say more about that and walk us a bit through your subscription model. Mm-hmm. Somebody wants to get started. What's their journey like, and how what can they expect in working with you? Getting signed up?
Onboarding is very important. So we do have a freemium model for companies 1 to 10 people. Because with our research, if a company has 10 or less, they're probably not going to pay for it, right? So we have a free model. But that's like the employee handbook, HR policies. And then from 11 to 19, it's like $100 a month. 20 to 34, 200, and like 35 to $404. Like they need a $100 increase each time. And right now it's like basic HR, employee handbook, HR policies, HR advice. A plan to do everything A to Z, like job descriptions, payroll, that kind of stuff. Performance management is a plan in the future.
Yeah, and that's really holistic and end to end. Tell us what your traction has been like. You know, you're reaching out to this underserved market. There's all these tools. Like, what's your progress so far? Where are you looking to take it?
Yeah, of course, you never make much progress you want to as a founder, but it's been interesting, right? So, of course, I made a lot of mistakes. One mistake I made was focusing too much on early stage startups. I've actually like 20 paying customers pass, but since early stage startups, all of them are out of business now, right? Mm-hmm. So I've had 20 paying customers, had like $55,000 revenue. I've done 80 beta tests. And cross-border traction, right? Some people stuff. Like, I do have a lot of soft tracks on podcasts and stuff. The top 2% podcast in the world, number 80 tech podcast. That's like a big driver for me too, right? And one thing everyone's willing to list, right? Like I have a good reputation. If you Google me, stuff comes up, right? So I'm not like, some, random Joe trying to sell stuff,
Yeah, and say more about because I know some folks, they're just like, how do we get to HR and ecosystem from podcast ebooks? Share a little bit more about that kind of flywheel that you have putting yourself out there.
Yeah, so I started a podcast a while ago, and it was like to market HR, right? So, but then everyone said do a 30-minute podcast, right? Talk to other HR people. So talk to other HR people. And they bought one off Jason. These HR people are not going to buy your platform because they'll have their own platform, right? And I learned, like, I'm actually kind of good at this, right? 30 minutes is not enough time, right? So basically, that's copy Joe Rogan, right? Longer conversations. And even though I might talk to someone who is not a small business owner, like I've had artists on here, politicians, they can still help me tell the story, right? Mm-hmm. And it's always a good way to keep people in your purview, so to speak. Like I do, you were someone like tomorrow. 2 months from now, I might republish a little clip of them and tag her. Oh man, I forgot about Jason. It is a good flywheel because when I do a podcast, I post a video on all different platforms, those short videos. It's a good way to keep yourself out there.
Yeah, and somebody who has had that podcast experience view and seen other ones, I think that is very germane to being good at HR, being good with people, being good with these sorts of conversations, and showing people, not telling them that that's something you can do.
Yeah, that's a good HR person. They don't tell you what to do. They kind of influence you to get there, right? They kind of lead their way. Like close, like the CEO says, I want to fire, Mary because she's pregnant now. And HR person, you shouldn't say you can't do that. You should be like, okay, you're the CEO, you do what you want to, but if you do that, these might be implications, right? Do you really want to do these kind of things, right?
Yeah.
You have to lay out the good and bad of everything.
Yeah. And you're about to scale up to be able to offer more of that perspective, more of that expertise. You got a launch coming up on September 8th.
Yes.
Tell our audience about what you got and what they can expect.
Yes, have the Wefunder going on. So as a non-tech founder, the biggest challenge has always been the tech piece, right? I've had like a lot of tech people, CTOs, they always pretty lead, have better opportunities. We did build I would call it MVP minus like a year ago. It was real good. But person who built it out, great person, but she got it out with Walmart. Of course, I can't fuck around with that, right? And so the system has bugs in it, right? So I've been to Vietnam 3 times. I actually have some software developers who can build it for me, right? And like, it's not like freelancers, not a company. It's like actually people I've dealt with, have good connections, right?
Yeah.
And in comparison, like in the United States, a development 100,000, Vietnam is 30,000, right? And not to talk about US developers, but they're working 40 hours probably not anymore, right? In Vietnam, they're working like they're holding their craft, right? And so this is a money saving I can do with that on the fundraiser. So the fundraiser starts September 8th. It's going to like 60 days. And the thing with Wefunder, people may or not know, like you have to raise a minimum 50,000, right? So if I raise $49,999, I'll get any money, right? So I have to raise 50,000. After that, I can keep it all, right? And I think they charge like they keep that 7% of it, which is already fair, right? So yeah, pushing ourselves on social media, doing this. We're talking about Vietnam in a minute. I'm going to Vietnam on Sunday for 30 days. Got a lot of connections there. I'm actually doing my Wefunder launch party in Ho Chi Minh City at a friend's bar.
Wow.
Yeah, I got 35 people signed up to that, like tech people, a lot of people like that. In Vietnam, I was there November to February this last year, 24-25. I did 18-person podcast there. It was insane, yeah. So a lot of good stuff going on in Vietnam. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Really
and the Wefunder, but it didn't mean like social media push, I call it like joking around, begging for money, right?
That's right. You got to pass the plate digitally.
Yes.
Everywhere you can. So launch is September 8th. Lots of exciting things happening. Like you said, already made some great connections in Vietnam, wanting to build more of that, expand on more of that. Where do you see yourself in CavnessHR, its impact in 2 to 3 years?
Man, so I want to like the impact of the question. I want to, so this is kind of stressful. I want to help decrease the number of small business failures, right? Because a lot of small business failures do fail because like, like not sexy stuff, the accounting, the bookkeeping, HR, like not having to do something. And here's another example of how I help someone out, right? So another customer I had, so they hired this lady. I would say her name is Mary, right? And they, hey, Jason, Mary's not working out. She's toxic. She's not a fit. Been in for 6 months, working out. She knows it. We know it. We have agreement. If we sign the paperwork, we'll give her like some severance pay. She leave, right? Everything's done, right? But she told us that she's pregnant. Yeah, and so like I'm not saying not to still do what you're doing, but like someone is gonna say you fired her because you're pregnant, right? So maybe you do keep on after they've done, like those kind of conversations, right? Because like it doesn't matter if everything's done. Someone might be a mother, might be someone. They're going to go on social media and say, "Hey, this company hired my friend Mary because you're pregnant, right?" And then how does that damage your brand? Another thing HR should do that to protect your brand too, right? HR is good. Should be protecting your brand. Another myth: HR is not for an employee, right? HR is for the business, right? A lot of people get that done wrong. Like they'll go tell HR person, "Hey, HR person, I'm looking for a job. Don't tell no one." Like, what? I have to start getting your replacement. I have to tell the boss, like, these things you got to do, right? Yeah, HR is not your friend. It's, but on the other hand, too, they should kind of protect you from the boss. The boss does stupid shit, too, right? Another pet peeve of mine, too, I hear on the news all the time, like, this tech CEO did this crazy shit, right? Whereas HR, I'm pretty sure HR is trying their damnedest, like, to keep them from doing it, right?
Yes.
Like, the HR lady, HR person, they have a mortgage, right? They just can't say, oh, I'm going to stand on principles and quit the job. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, and I really appreciate this kind of risk management view you're bringing up around how there are so many high potential businesses and startups that, the investors are excited about the addressable market, about the team. But once you start bringing in these other folks and you start building and scaling and you're trying to get to IPO, all of that great tech and IP and the moat that you built, it's crazy how the wrong kind of hire, a compliance misstep, the sorts of risks that you're trying to mitigate and get ahead of, that could be the thing that like really disrupts the business or maybe like even derails the brand. I'm learning too, especially talking to you, like in startup world, that like you said, those golden handcuffs, Walmart can give them platinum handcuffs. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And, some people tell themselves, well, we'll just be able to, this raise that I just did, I'll be able to negotiate a crazy salary and retention and all of that. And I think it's really interesting that how people think that they can throw tech money et cetera, and that somehow solves what you're talking about, that you still need HR help to navigate. Because what I'm hearing you say is it's great to have HR there because those are the folks that keep you from having to hang out with your lawyers.
Yes. Another thing, like HR, you get to solve all kind of crazy problems that you don't get in school, right? So one time I had a customer, and they called me. I like this rumor, right? So supposedly that employee, and supposedly that employee told someone else that worked there that he takes showers with his kids, right? Like he's 39, he's like 8 years old, and he can't really take the showers. So like, can I fire him for this? Like, well, let's walk through all this, right? How it's true, how you know it's true. The guy denied it, like this lady like mad at him, like all that kind of stuff happens too, right? And how do you like process through? I mean, because if you fire this person and it's totally untrue, and it's proven that lady's lying on him, like, then you're liable. Then again, if you don't fire him, I guess, then what type of company you have? We have employees taking showers that eat your daughters, right? So it gets complicated.
Well, yeah, because I mean, you kind of have to navigate. Seemingly, it doesn't matter how high tech, how high salary, or how highly educated people are. That rumor mill,
yes,
keeps on churning.
What's the thing?
It?
A lie goes around the world a minute. The truth takes like a year or something.
Yeah. Let's say a rumor will make it around the world before the truth can get on the shoots. Yep. That whole thing, right? And HR is in the middle of all of it. Well, so you have been coming back to Vietnam. You've been building bridges in Vietnam for a while. Obviously, culture, HR landscape, all of that's like very different. But with that said, how does that bridge building fit into your vision of global expansion? A lot of people in HR don't really have a global expansion vision. No. And I want to hear about yours.
Yeah, it totally happened by accident. So I'll tell the story how I got involved in Vietnam. So I have a good friend, Kevin. He was the one who did my AV for a tech event that I did a month ago.
Oh, yeah.
And so we've been good friends for a while. So like January 23, he said, hey, Jay, so he's from Laos. His wife, Mina, is like born in Ho Chi Minh City, moved here when she was 13. And said, hey, Jason, Mina's in college, and her college is going to Ho Chi Minh City. She's taking logistics, going to Ho Chi Minh City for 10 days in September. Can you go with me? Like, dude, I'm not no motherfucking Vietnam. Come on, my mind, like Vietnam, communist, some of you 1950s. Like, why would I go someplace? I have to ask permission to do everything, right?
Yeah.
Jason's not like that, and whatever. I'm not going, right? And so he asked me 3 or 4 times, and finally, the flight, they were flying September 1st, August 25th. The light bulb goes off. Jason, when you have a chance to go to another country with a tour guide, right? So I paid way too much for the month for the ticket, all that kind of stuff. But I went there for 10 days. And just had the greatest time, right? The people were great. I mean, just drinking, all kind of stuff. Met Mina's family, had a great time, right? But before I went there, I went on LinkedIn and connected with a lot of people. Hey, I'm coming to Vietnam, I'm doing this stuff. So I met a lot of VCs, tech people. I met people from Earth VC who come to play later on. And just had a great time there. So fast forward to June 2024. June 2024. And Kevin was like, hey, me and I got married real young, kind of poor, of course, wedding. We're doing well. We're going to get remarried February 6th in Vietnam. Can you go? And hell, I go to your wedding, right? And so I go there. I saw, if wedding's February 6th, I'll probably, go like January 25th. Kevin was like, dude, like, how many people do you know in Vietnam? Like, maybe like 200. Dude, you like, bring podcast stuff with you. Do a podcast. Oh, shit. So I bought my podcast. And Earth VC, who I met the first time, they let me do a podcast in a space, change to do some ads for them, right? So that worked perfectly. So the 18 podcasts, met a whole lot of cool people, right? And a lot of great HR people. A lot of great people doing things like Raphael Masters has a company. It's like what's that thing called when you put the fake arms on? The
prosthetics.
Yeah, he has that. But his plans like have the prosthetics like I can say data mine your health info, data mine your health info.
Oh, but like smart prosthetics.
Yes, yeah, like that. So I've met so many cool people, right? And one thing that threw me off when I went there the first time, both times. First of all, if they're like 50 and above, they don't speak English. 40 to 50 happen to have everyone below 35 speak English perfectly. Mm-hmm. And it's funny though, like you try to speak Vietnamese, like no, like no, speak English to me, right? So that's crazy. And one thing kind of threw me off is like they're all of Americans, which I was not expecting. Right? The history of the wars and stuff, they love all of Americans. And like the biggest compliment I can give to them is like I'm from Texas, I love Texas. Vietnam's the only place I've been to where like, man, this is just like Texas. As far as the people, personalities. And one last story, I have so many stories about Vietnam. So one time I was there first time, and when it rained, like rains, right? Really rains. I was somewhere, it was raining, right? Really hard. And this couple ran out of the house and grabbed me, right? And said, come to the house. Like, first, no, dude, like you're not about to steal my fucking kidneys, right? But finally, did sign us on the house. They spoke no English, no Vietnamese. I mean, they gave me beer, pho, and just had a good time. I said, thank you so much for Google Translate. What kind of people would be if we let this rain be walking in the rain in our country, right?
Yeah, wow. Well, this is your show, and you're heading Vietnam, so we can do more Vietnam stories. Or we can definitely do that. Why is this launch party? You mentioned the launch party in Ho Chi Minh City. obviously everything that you're doing there is with intention. Why is this an important launch for you? Like, what is the significance? Get the sense that you want to give back to these folks who've shown you so much generosity and hospitality, and you see much opportunity to unlock and give them access to. But please just share more about what you're looking to do with this launch and thinking about Ho Chi Minh City.
Yeah, mainly, of course, you want to get investors, that kind of stuff. You want to give back. And just, just like this video we're doing here, we do the videos on podcasts. Later on, I'll repurpose it. Same thing, the launch, I'll live stream it, repurpose it, put stuff out there. And a lot of people think I'm planning something, but I'm really not. Like when I did the tech event, so I told myself for the tech, I would never do a tech event again. I'll never do any kind of event. And I think maybe in April, I got there was a LinkedIn post, Seattle Tech event. We're looking for a panel. We're looking for whatever. Like, man, so I have no time to do anything now. Let me add this other thing on here, right? And same thing with this. I actually didn't plan to do this launch until like 2 weeks ago, right? So kind of out of nowhere, but like, man, like have a pretty place to do it. I know I can at least 3 people to go, right? So just like that, and then kind of like bridge it to.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You mentioned a little bit about investors, connecting ecosystem, global expansion. You're looking for backers. What would you say to the folks who can't make it out to Ho Chi Minh or want to stay tuned to your progress, and they're interested in learning more about what would it mean to back and invest in CavnessHR? Give us your pitch for those folks. Why is now the time, and how would you like to work with them?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, first, like I'm kind of like a known entity, right? You invest in some random joker, who might scam you, right? If you look at me, I'm out there. I have a lot of people who like say good things about me, right? And with HR, I mean, it's just so outdated, right? Mm-hmm. It's so outdated, right? Like ADP started in 1949. Like Rippling have so many complaints, Gus so many complaints, and there's really no small business, no HR for small business, right? Even like there's a company called Bambi. They started off with companies like 49 and below, and now they're 500 people. There's no HR for actual small business, right? It's definitely an untapped market. According to SBA, like there's like 5 million companies in the US with 49 fewer people. Now, what I could never find like how many of them don't have HR, but you just guess how many don't have HR, right? I think a good bet, right? Based on what I've done in the past, I've always accepted everything. One thing I'm really proud of, like in the military, everyone who worked for me got promoted ahead of peers, And another thing I'm proud of, everyone in the Army who worked for me, 80% of them were my Facebook friends, right?
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's, says something, I think, right? And I just think I've proven, I'm resilient. I saw a joke I have sometimes. I'm resilient. I'm like too stubborn to stop, right? I think most founders have that, right? It's that, remember that pitch I had a long time ago when someone was doing a gold mine, a diamond mine, and they quit, and it's like that far away?
Yeah.
Like one more hit. That's not like big fear sometimes,
Yeah, that's just right there. Yeah. And you want to be the kind of person that, of course, investors can trust you to keep hacking away.
Yeah, I'm not going to quit. Yeah. Yeah. It's been a good time, though, I wouldn't be doing anything else.
Yeah. No, I love it. So we talked a little bit about investors. We talked about Wefunder, so you're looking at these different types of ways to do funding to get your scale, traction, and expansion. Tell the audience a little bit about if you want to tap in on the Wefunder side of backing you. What's that split and allocation going to be for what you're raising?
Yeah, so it's you can invest $1 million.
You sure can.
Yeah, you sure can. Yeah, so minimum $100, minimum $100, and if I don't raise at least $50,000, you get your money back. They set up something called a safe, right? And also, if you invest like the first, I should know this, so I don't. Like, you the first $50,000, you get a discount on the safe, right? Mm-hmm. I think the pre-roll is $4 million, post-roll would be $5 million, right? So the numbers, right? And definitely, if you do invest in me, anyone else, make sure you do research, right? Because it is a high risk, right?
Yeah.
Invest in me. Of course, I should say it's a no-brainer invest in Jason Cavness, right? But being truthful, it is risk, right? Anything can go wrong, I have these tech people lined up for cheap. They might flake out on me. There's so many things go wrong. So it is a high risk, right? So definitely keep that in mind, right? Having said that, $100, that's be a lot of help to me.
Yeah, $100. If you're willing to risk a night out in Seattle, is that even a night out in Seattle?
No,
I'm not sure.
That's like 20 minutes.
I was gonna say if you wanted an airport Uber, a level of risk, put it there in the Wefunder. That's 100, right?
Yeah.
Well, awesome. I think that's all of the questions I had for you as your interviewer today, but is there anything you wished I would have asked you or anything that you want your audience to hear from you ahead of this launch?
Yeah, for founders, the biggest challenge is people always talk about how long it takes, but the thing you don't realize, I have a lot of people, but most of them are going to be after 6 months, right? Mm-hmm. Because the reason being, they can't do it for free, right?
Yeah.
And one step I felt the billionaire unicorn myth, right? The money's out there, but the stats, so even venture capital, who I think it's like the 1.2% of venture capital actually make money off their investments. Only like 1% of people trying to raise money, right? So it might be better for everyone to actually focus on customers first, right?
Yeah.
And that's a big mistake I made in the past, right? I definitely try to pitch too soon, right?
Yeah.
Another thing I learned too from this journey, like I have all these VCs say, hey, if you're early, come talk to us. What that really means is if we dealt with you before and raised money before, come talk to us.
Come back to us first.
It doesn't mean random Joe you never seen before, come talk to us, right? Yeah. And another thing too, like what is early stage, right? Like some people say early stage idea, other people say around, so it's definitely changed a lot. There's a lot of different things out there.
Yeah. Well, me, I run a venture studio, so I when we say early stage, we actually mean it, and it's actually one of my favorite things about doing that.
Yeah, definitely. No, it's a good journey.
Yeah.
Also the Wefunder. So I also have we're giving away free 7 ebooks. That's on the show. So one thing this is crazy. So we're live streaming this like everywhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you have QR code on there, right? On the screen, my computer screen, everything, right? But then like I got banned from TikTok, right? I'm like, what's going on?
What'd you do?
You can't have no QR codes on there. So I learned that and I peeled it and I promised I didn't have QR codes before, right? So it'd be nice. Hey, go to the QR code on the screen, kind of stuff. And now I have to think another way because I like a lot of stream, like a lot of viewers on TikTok, right?
Right.
Yeah. So I'm doing the 7 ebooks of 300 conversations. Actually, let me show the titles off my phone. If you tell me, like, I've talked to 300 people, I'm like, damn, there's no way I'm talking to 300 people. Let me pull this up so I can tell you the titles. So, what's that rule? The internet's always double slow if you want to be fast.
Yep.
All right. So, did 7 ebooks. One of the top 10 leadership insights, common startup mistakes, growth resilience, emerging trends, featured industries, unforgettable advice, and the 50 podcast hosts from the different hosts, different guests.
Nice.
Then also have doing like a builders club. It's a free one. But you have to give us like feedback once you have the platform up, like beta test.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have the middle version, which is $99 a month. We actually do HR for you. Like it's not $40 HR, we do HR stuff for you. And then the best one is actually the one fee $497 lifetime HR, right? And then if you don't build, you get your money back.
Nice. Any merchandise?
I've tried that before, but no,
I feel like friends from Vietnam are going to insist on your merch.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to have some cool merch working with them.
I'm actually going to do a food next year.
Look, you just said.
But it's something. It's not related to CavnessHR. But let me show you the prototype.
Yes, please.
Like sometimes people will say, like, Jason, how you do all this? Like, how are you not doing all this? CavnessHR.
It kind of seems to me like you're having fun.
Yeah. Like I tried the retire in the rock chair thing. I went batch crazy. Okay.
Let's see. Ooh, those are fly.
Yeah.
I'm from Colorado, and it's giving Denver Broncos vibes.
Yeah. So those are actually my brand colors. So for CavnessHR.
Very nice. And these are the prototypes. And you said maybe coming
next year. Yeah.
2026.
Yeah. So once I'm going to Vietnam, I'm actually doing a tour factory to see where I want to have it made at.
Nice. Well, for folks who are curious, who are listening and are viewing, you'll have to maybe put some top secret JPEGs. Maybe you could unlock some early preview prototype things with joining your Wefunder. Who knows? We'll see.
Yeah, that's a good idea. So what do you have going on?
Ooh, what do we have going on? It's hard to believe it's September next week. So it's Q4 time, friends. It's the fourth quarter if you're running the calendar year. Halftime if you're on the June fiscal. But in any case, we're just thinking about Q4, finishing the year strong. The weird thing about Q4, and you know this from working in HR, is that because of vacations and all of that, you really actually only have for like September and October. Because once you start getting into like mid-November, it's kind of game over for getting everybody's like signature workflow.
And for some people, it starts at Halloween, right?
It really does, right? And so that's kind of how I think about it. So when I say that like September is next week, because I'm an operationally focused person, and I think about what we need to get done, not just in the end of the year, but set ourselves up for 2026. I think about how we really actually just have September and October.
Yes.
That said, we are going to be at Seattle AI Week WTIA. That's the end of October. So you folks check that out if you have events, if you want to see the speakers, all that good stuff. So I'll be there as part of their summit on October 28th. We also have the Tech Alliance, so the Technology Alliance here, they do an annual policy summit, and our Barklow Venture Studio is their partner this year. So you folks can save the date for mid-November. And we'd love to see folks there. So the policy summit is to help folks focus on these different emerging tech areas. The theme this year is quantum. Washington State is a bit behind the other 9 states, et cetera, in having a quantum and future tech initiative. But the Tech Alliance is doing this annual policy summit. Day 1 is going to be more of the policy economic focus, but Barklow during day 2, and we're very excited because this finally means that we're going to be able to do a larger scale event that's on par with the kind of stuff you see out of Chicago and Maryland and Colorado and New Mexico, because we're firm believers that even while Washington State is kind of figuring out its place in strategy, that doesn't mean that the innovators and thinkers, investors here shouldn't have an opportunity to have the same access that these other states and global regions have when it comes to brushing up on this topic, not just for quantum, but for future computing in general, and all of this infrastructure and security that's needed to support what's happening with data intelligence and AI.
So since I have you, I think what else you want to talk about? I want to take advantage of you being here.
What else should we talk about? Man, I feel like so much has happened since we did the episode I was on.
Yeah, I know, right?
Man.
I think that comes out 2 weeks from now, actually, that episode.
Yeah, that's right. It comes out in 2 weeks. I think a lot of it in there is still evergreen, but there's been some really interesting things. I know you and I were at lunch just now talking about, people are talking about AI speculation, concerns about bubbles, mismatches between perception and reality, how much traction AI actually has in enterprise environment. I would love to hear from you. Do you find yourself competing with AI platforms and tools, the kind of stuff that startups pitching investors saying it's going to get rid of something like CavnessHR? Yeah. How much of that have you seen?
I actually think it's kind of advantage when people say that, because most small business owners, they're kind of old school, right? They're not going to trust some random tool. They still want a person, right?
Yeah.
True. I mean, I think example, you can obviously go to ChatGPT and Google how to fire someone, right?
Yeah.
But does it really have to do the nuances, right? Each situation is different, right? So I think it's a kind of advantage to me when people, they say only use tools, right? Because most people are going to want to just use tools. They want a person, give them some balance, so to speak,
Yeah. For me, I am seeing some very interesting things around. So I should preface this by saying that I am a bit of a policy nerd, but I'm also a bit of an economics nerd. And I almost got my double major in economics at Ohio State, but I didn't want to stay there long enough to even do the minor. That said, I am seeing very interesting dynamics of game theory play out and the perception and reality of what people are seeing with AI, but also where they put their money, where they place their bets, and everything they need to happen to make good on that. So first, what I'll say is, please remember that we had the .com burst the same time that broadband was expanding. So this disconnect between over speculation hype in one area of an innovation economy, like what happened with .com, we still have e-commerce, right? We got Amazon Prime 2-day shipping. So it wasn't that we weren't going to have e-commerce. It's that the speculation was living at that website pitch level and not at the infrastructure that required people to people needed that to even get on the internet in the first place, right? So I kind of am already seeing that. You can, if you go do your GPTs and Googles yourself, but you'll notice that folks like me who work in compute, infrastructure, data center, that kind of stuff, all of that stuff's expanding as people are starting to get very nervous about where they place their bets with AI. I think that kind of has a very interesting parallel to the .com burst. I think the other thing that's very interesting is that there's that MIT study that came out that made some waves about how so few of these AI pilots are actually making it into enterprise IT production. I find that very interesting because some sort of well, hold on, there's all this shadow AI going on and people are using it at a consumer level. They're burning up these GPT credits. Where I think that gets interesting from a game theory perspective is if you're one of these AI companies, these superstar one to watch 40 under 40, blah, blah, blah type startups, you didn't promise your investors the total addressable market of shadow AI and consumer AI. You promised them that you'd be able to replace business unit workers, that you'd be able to streamline operations. So all of that money that you raised, it was on the promise of being able to have these large scale kind of automation, rip and replace roadmaps in enterprise IT. So I say that to say that it will not be enough that these consumer apps and lower price point AI solutions do well when a lot of this money was promised around enterprise IT and basically modernizing and renovating all these workflows. So that's actually a really big gap in price margin. That's a big gap in traction. And I'm not really sure how much you can have these smaller, lower price point AI sorts of tools versus like the really big subscription, like SaaS bills for enterprise. I'm sure somebody could run the math on how much you would need to fill in that gap, but that's a pretty big gap. Last thing I'll say, since the last time we talked about with all this stuff, is this data center thing and this speculation around that real estate, critical minerals, there's a very big risk around some of this technical debt where people are looking to invest in data centers and materials that really assume that we're always going to build data centers the same way. We now have aquatic data centers. We have orbital data center nodes launching and continuing to be launched this fall. So if you're somebody who's kind of late to the party, you're rushing in right now on like the standard data center model, I've been telling people you can't put a Hemi in an Oldsmobile. It's really difficult to try to retrofit or do more, bigger, harder, faster of a data center architecture type that obviously it just can't keep up with AI workloads. It was never designed to do that. So I do think that there's some real risk. McKinsey has a report out right now talking about misallocated capital, which I think is a very polite way of saying, like, don't be the dumb money, where you're speculating it's going to take you 2 to 3 years to get this stuff off the ground. And the same folks who have been working on modular data center solutions, modular energy power, et cetera, they might be having prototypes, traction, and sales, closing rounds for their raise in the next 2 to 3 years, right when people are trying to finally break ground on what they're spending millions on right now. McKinsey's calling it like a $7 trillion problem. So those are, I guess, my little updates from Frontier Tech and Infrastructure and news and trends since the last time we went out.
So back to CavnessHR, a couple of things I forgot to say. Right? So, like I said, a year ago, we did like a MVP minus, right? MVP minus, like we had some less intent. Of course, letter intent, you never know if they're going to really pay not right.
Yeah.
So, like, it does it count, did 80 beta tests. All the people we talked to, like, all of them said, hey, Jason, you're on the right path, but this isn't good enough for us to pay for, right? So, the reason I'm raising a refund is because I need to raise money to pay for the developers, right? Even though Vietnam still costs money, right?
Yeah.
And some people were all, like, get customers first, or like, what should I do the refunder to help raise the tech? I would say, like, I have 100 people on. Everyone says they're going to buy, right? Maybe I'm too like my flyer with the podcast people don't know. I just don't have so many people who buy the product once it's ready for them, right? And so when we're raising the money to be able to build the product out to do the sales.
Makes sense to me.
And I think we have a pretty good go-to-market plan, using the podcast, social media, different items like that. I'm a veteran, partners with veteran organizations. I have partners set up so in Seattle, for people in Seattle's based on neighborhoods, right? There's Pioneer Square, Belltown, Capitol Hill. All these have their own small city business networks or chamber of commerce, or partners, those kind of things too, right?
Yeah. Well, I also like your model that it kind of has like this, apart from LOIs, it's kind of like try before you buy sort of thing, which can really make a difference in helping people discover for themselves what kind of fit is there for what you have to offer. Yeah.
So let's talk about my tech event. Once again, thanks for being a judge there.
Yes.
What was your take on the tech event and the talent you've seen there?
I really liked it. There was a lot of events going on Seattle Tech Week, and I couldn't clone myself to be at nearly as many of them as I wish to be at. But I really appreciated the range of the types of founders that you had there, a different kind of technology you had there. I'm always a big fan of folks who are thinking beyond enterprise SaaS. There was a lot of that. I think about Apple Technologies who won. I get excited about a startup like them, not just because of like the tech itself in the market, but from a decentralized like healthcare perspective, we've never really had a solution like that could be mobilized.
And like how has that been happening yet, right?
Yeah.
Like, how is this possible?
Yeah, I mean, because I think about, I used to work at Cardinal Health, and there'd be the community health centers, and I also did some nonprofit work and all of that. And when you think about Latin America, Sub-Saharan Africa, et cetera, you can have these health clinics, right, where you can administer vaccines, and you can basically kind of do like minute clinic type care, right, and places that don't really have access. Same thing with rural health deserts. Sadly, we're having more of those in the U.S. The thing that has always been missing has been imagery. So people could have growths, abscesses, even cancers and tumors in these different villages and communities for years, in some cases decades, and there would be no way to have that evaluated or imaged unless you were able to help that person get to like a larger city or a larger healthcare hub. And so that's what I was really excited about who won. I'm not saying that that's in their plan or anything like that, but just seeing that technology's out there in the world where people can have that decentralized imaging, that's not just solving a real healthcare system problem in America, that's solving a very real access to care problem for the world.
Yeah, when I first decided to just do the tech event, I'm like, okay, I'll do this tech event. I'll probably pick 5 starters, right? Then I got 55 applicants, right? And like, okay, so maybe 10 of them do 16, right? There's so many applicants, right? It's like insane. And yeah, there's so much good stuff going on here.
Yeah, the other thing I liked about it too, and I talked to you about this before, was like that was kind of an event that was fun because you could be a secret shopper. If you have like a pitch contest or something like that, or even a demo day, right? You don't get to kind of we talked about kind of like an audition, right? A lot of trade shows, expos, conferences, it's going to be like the format you had. You're going to have a table, and people are going to have to mosey around. You're not going to get a stage and 5 minutes to pitch and slide. You're not going to get that, right? You're going to be in a room full of all this other technology and all these other tables and all these other exhibitors. And how do people learn about your product? How do they discover you, have an experience?
You got to be some kind of person,
Yeah, and not just that, like not everybody's going to be able to get to all of your tables. Not everyone's going to be able to have this conversation with the founder. So how do people, like you were sending out the websites for them ahead of the event, and I was one of those people, I looked them up, right? And that's how it goes. It's the same thing when you go to exhibit. I was at the Currency Forum. Shout out to Robin, everybody. Similar thing, the Currency Forum Capital Expo. They had people on stage pitching who were selected, but then they had all these booths. They had different rooms with different booths at the Washington Athletic Club, and everybody had a list, and they had feedback and all of that. And it's like, how do you stand out and differentiate yourself beyond your elevator pitch, beyond your slides? Because I'm learning that a lot of founders aren't really used to this idea that your pitch and all of that needs to happen not just to investors and not with slides. You have to be able to appeal to everybody, and even for that digital signal that you put out there, using people to your website or your social media, that actually plays a huge role. Who'll even stop by your table.
So what's your take on my guidance or lack of guidance to the as far as how I want you to pick people? Because it's pretty much like do your own fucking thing, right?
Yeah, it was. I kind of liked that because I do think that that's kind of the equalizer, right? Because going back to that example of like if you were exhibiting at a booth or whatever, nobody, how do I put this? Whether you're an investor or a customer, it's very rare that somebody tells you, here's how to score everybody at the conference you're going to, right? You have to think about that yourself based off of what you're looking for and who and what appeals to you and meet like your needs or what you're interested in, right? So I know some people definitely would have wanted like maybe more like a rubric. I wouldn't say like the judges, but maybe more just like if you're somebody who's applying. Like,
they ask for like, what are we going to judge on? Like, they're doing what they want to do, right? That did frustrate some of them. Like, well, what are we supposed to prepare for? Like, that's up to you, right?
Yeah, and me, I'm a customer-centric person, so I think of it from the customer perspective. Like, don't come ready to close me as an investor. Come ready to, like, even if I can't be a customer, I want to have the kind of experience with you where it's like, I will refer you to somebody that I think would be a customer to you, right?
Yeah. The one thing, some of the people that kind of complain, like, all the judges didn't see me. I told them, like, but I didn't see you go try to get them, right? Like, if you know the judge supposed to end at 2 o'clock, these 2 judges didn't get you. Should have said, hey, Sierra, you haven't seen me yet. Come talk to me, right? But I don't think any of them did that.
Well, not that, but like I said, you sent out all of the information and their websites ahead of time, right?
And also all the judges, I posted all the judges stuff too out there.
Yes, true.
So I knew who the judges were.
Yeah, but also I think the other thing too is I think folks aren't used to it being competitive in that sense because it's like, Doppel, that's a killer technology.
Yeah, I actually told Ryan, like, if you already lost this, maybe you need to quit doing this, right?
I was gonna say, that's.
Because you definitely had tech, and it was based on tech, right? And they definitely had the best tech there.
Yeah, exactly. It was on the best tech, and I think some folks were like, everybody. And I think this is an interesting conversation we should have. I mean, you and I was just telling you about that GeekWire article, right? Where it's like, why doesn't Seattle have unicorns, right? I think this is kind of like a cultural, like a part of that, right? Because like you said, this was about tech. Unicorns and that kind of stuff, sometimes it'll come down to the tech in a way where people are like, oh, it's all about the team and the founder. Well, back up. Wait a second. If you're a customer, et cetera, do you really care about the team and the founder if the tech isn't impressive to you or can't do anything for you? Like, no, it becomes like a moot point. So I know some folks are like, you should be able to, every founder should be able to talk to a judge and be able to pitch and sell them on their tech. But the way that the market works is that I don't really have time. The market says, why would I talk to a founder if it's not obvious to me that their tech is useful or their tech is like fit? In this case, it's like you would have to have had tech when you looked at all the websites that would go beyond what impact that Doppel was going to have in the world. So I think in that way, I totally would get the frustration if you're one of the other booths, because it's like, these people got a patient and a gown.
Yeah, they went all out, right?
Yeah, they went all out, and so and like I said, it's competitive, but the market can be competitive that way too. I do also take the point that the categories are different, right? When you think about there was remind me of the name of the other startup that was there for the ear infection checks.
I think it's Waverly Diagnostics.
Yes, so this diagnostics group, they have an apparatus where you could check your kids' ear infections from a phone, right? And it's like, I love, is it Takamori?
Yeah.
I love Takamori Robotics, right?
Yeah.
The thing though is that my kids had more ear infections than like room for robots, right? And that's how the market goes. That's kind of like where it could get really tough as well, right? Is that like you have a thing that like a toy, a learning, an education thing, and then you have stuff that's like your kid could lose their hearing if you don't address it, and here's a solution for that, right?
Exactly.
So I totally get how maybe folks were like, you know what, maybe we should put the health and life sciences people over here, and then maybe the more like leisure consumer electronics kind of thing over there. I think that might be valid feedback.
Yeah. Another thing too, like most countries, like this first, I know no first over this one winner.
No.
No second, third is too much. Like pick one winner.
That you did make that hard on us. I want everyone to know we wanted power ranking. And Jason was like, nope, there can only be one. It's like Highlander.
Only be one, yeah. Yeah, it's a good time though, yeah. And think even like win a contest like that, that's the audience that we provided them, right? For social media, people walking through there. So even if you didn't win, hopefully those people took advantage of it.
Yeah, you know what I think when I think about those kinds of events, because we think about some of this next gen stuff at Barclow. One of the things we've been thinking about is, for like if you're Gen Z or Gen Alpha, you don't go to conferences and look at booths. Like that whole example I just gave you about Keiretsu and all that. Like the younger generation, that's not a thing. They vibe check you, as they say. They fit check you and they vibe check you online. And they're like, I'm not putting on pants and go like look at everybody's booths, right? And so we kind of think about like what would be like the channel in that kind of reach. I do think this is where that like social media, like digital first thing is a really big deal, because we definitely have a younger generation in this attention economy where like it's like they're not going to sit there and listen to a pitch, as we would call it, but they'll watch your TikTok, right? They'll watch they'll scroll, they'll lose 2 hours a day looking at different TikToks, right? But are they going to like look at slides? Are they going to look at a pitch? Are they going to look like at a demo and like your IP moat competes? No, they're not going to do that. So that's something my co-founder and I think about, is like, how do we get that reach to a younger generation? Not necessarily because like Gen Alpha is old enough to be accredited investors, but because from a talent pipeline perspective, you want their engagement, especially like in frontier tech where we operate. You want to show up and get on their radar, because the jobs of the future, a lot of kids don't even have vocabulary. A lot of adults in America, they don't even have vocabulary for what do you want to be when you grow up that actually matches the future economy. So we think of it less from everybody's after investors and customers, which is great. But if you're after like talent and starting people early and catching us up on that qualification pipeline, that's where we're kind of thinking about like, oh man, we got to think more beyond demo days and pitch days and booths to reach that younger generation.
So another thing I'm proud of about the conference, about the event I had too, like I told you about the one person really got hired by Doppel.
Yeah.
There was actually 3 people got hired at the conference. Through different network, right?
There you go.
Yeah.
Isn't it ironic that sometimes if you have like an event that's like we want people want network to get hired, it doesn't happen, then you have an event about something else.
Yeah, like has everyone ever got fired at a job fair? I don't think so.
I have not. But yeah, it's interesting how that happens organically. When you kind of create that sort of convening. But yeah, I had a really good time. I had a great time. I think that the whole thing about like the founder dynamics and like who's like the attendees, like who's the judge. I think that really gets into there's like the whole thing of incubators and accelerators. And in some ways, how do I put this? It's almost like stage management and finishing school, like for entrepreneurs, right? And I think that that's interesting because in an event like yours, and I'm saying this as somebody who's founder, investor, operator of a venture studio, and I've done these types of events for Barclow, it really is kind of like a audition and boot camp that you're not going to get from the incubator accelerator courses. Exactly. Right? Because the incubator accelerator courses will tell you how to stay on script and how to this, how to that. But when you're actually like in it in real time, and you're getting so many different types of questions about like what you do. Like how
many different various feedback each startup get, right?
Exactly, right? And then also like how much of that here's another thing I noticed too. There was the Brainwave startup. Thinky, right? Yeah. Shout out to Thinky. I saw them at the Keiretsu's expo as well, right? Doing a great job. What I love about that founder was you're going to have all kinds of people come in and out. They don't know anything about your business. They're just asking questions. And he was just such a good sport. No matter what question he got, no matter like what feedback, they're like, oh, isn't this like that other Muse thing? Or that people would bring up his competitors. He's like, well, yeah, he goes, it's similar, but it's a bit different, and here's how, right? And so he just had such a great attitude and perspective about it. And just that how many hours was that?
Like it was like 12 or 4.
Yeah, so like he was like 2 or 3 hours in, and he was still just fresh like that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like
Yes.
it didn't like have like any wear and tear on it. See, that's the kind of thing you can't really like teach per se.
No.
Like
That's what you talk about the interview versus audition thing you talked about earlier.
Yeah, like that's an audition. Like that's somebody who's good at an audition. They're able to improv, right? No matter what questions come to them, you know, they're not taking offense. People would like give them a suggestion, like, oh, have you tried this? Or have you pitched this? He goes, you know, I've tried this and this, but say more about what you're thinking, right? And that really impressed me about him, because it is not uncommon, as you know, to come across founders that are like, I want feedback. I want people to try out my product. And one person says something that like they've already made up their mind they're not going to do, or they disagree with. And they're just immediately like, well, I'm not going to boil the ocean.
Or they're like, I've already told 100 people, I'm not telling anyone else about this.
Yeah. Or like, well, like if you ask that question, then you clearly don't know enough about like my tech or my startup or whatever, right? And it's just like, okay, I mean, I get it. Like I can get a little crispy around the edges at the end of the day too. Like I totally get it. But I do think that how you show up in those dynamics, especially over a long period of time, because expos are a long time, conferences are multiple days. You go to global conferences, you're jet lagged, right? And like, how do you still show up well? And so that was one founder in particular who really like impressed me with how he's handling folks.
And people ask me, I do such a podcast. I do them because like you can't hire your true self after a 2-hour podcast, right? You might be able to pick the funk the first 30 minutes, but eventually the real you's gonna come out, right?
Yeah, and so I really like that. And you know, I guess the last thing I'll say is I really appreciate how you gave folks an opportunity. Because you're like one of the guests, like you're not one of the judges or whatever. Not only do you get to like check out this like cool tech and founders that you, like me, you might see them around other places, but it also kind of gives you an idea. Like, let's say you are one of those people job hunting, right? Would I want to work for a founder like this?
Yeah, exactly.
Like what do they have going on? Like these material, if they assigned me to work the booth, how would I do with that, right? So I feel like you gave everybody their different kind of stakeholder perspectives in the ecosystem. It kind of gave everybody food for thought, kind of this experiential way to plug in to what people have going on here.
So 2 kind of sort of jokes, right? So people like give me like do like do the radio event, blah blah. You know, I say, well, I had free pasta, free cocktails. It's kind of hard to fuck that up, right?
Well, that's the other thing too. If you're like I'm not endorsing founders drinking on the job at the booth. I'm just saying, like, if that kind of vibe, if you couldn't go carb load and have a free cocktail, take a load off, and just like vibe a little bit, I kind of don't know what to tell you. If you couldn't have a good time with that.
Yeah, and then and one time somebody, man, Jason, like, you had such good people at your event, like so many good people. How do you know they're good people? Maybe because I'm a good person. I don't know. Maybe I'm a good person. I don't know.
Well, you know what's it's interesting that you say that. So we're starting to work with our alpha cohort, like the folks that are looking to back from Qubit's first allocation. So Fire Drill is if Nardo, our fund partner, calls us and is like, hey, fund round's closed. Who do you have ready to go? Like, do we have investment memo? Are they in thesis, data room? So we're doing those reps right now, right? And we've met great people, same idea. And we were in one of the work sessions with one of these prospective startups, and we were talking to them about team and talking about them, the direction they want to go with the team. And like, you know, this is like, frontier tech, very specialized, very niche, etc. And one of the things that we absolutely love that we did not coach these people to say or anything, they were like, well, we're happy to tell you about our talent strategy and like the credentials and stuff, but we have a no asshole rule. Yeah.
But the problem with that is like every person's asshole is a different asshole, right?
Well, you would be. Let's just say that within certain technical fields, as you know, there's kind of a common denominator. Okay. I mean, it's kind of like we were saying with HR. I think one common denominator definition of no asshole rule is who is going to have me calling Jason and our lawyers all the time.
Yeah, that's very true.
So are you going to do another event like it?
I always say no.
I was going to say, you just said before.
So I did like a CavnessHR pitch competition for Tacoma Startup with 2023. Then I did 2 panels in Tacoma. One was on This Ain't Unicorns and Rainbows, and then one with our writer investors. And then this one, events are a lot of fun though. It's just like it's not easy, right? Like the thing about events, like you have to trust people and do what they say, right?
Yeah.
Like
It's a trust fall.
You have to trust. Like, I had to trust Natasha's going to do the bar. I had to trust that Luigi's going to do the food. I just had to trust like at least 5 of the stars are going to show up and present, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's a matter of trust.
You have to trust that we could all get through downtown Seattle construction parking.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I like doing business. Yeah, it's a lot of work.
Yeah. I'm interested to see. I know you and I were talking at lunch about how different events are kind of changing up their formats, like South by Southwest, and they're like, oh, we're going to do it a little shorter.
Yeah.
We're going to do it a little more streamlined kind of thing. And so I'm interested to see over the next year or so. It's hard to believe that we're actually only in like the 3 to 4 year window post-pandemic, people coming back to events.
Yeah. The thing with that, it kills me when people like, oh, it's I only want to Zoom in the pandemic. Like the pandemic was like 2 years ago, right? Like, I don't know.
Well, and I think it's interesting that like I'm all about like accessibility and scale through like hybrid, but it never ceases to amaze me what people think you can run hybrid.
Yeah,
they're like, well, you have like a hybrid option. I'm just like a hybrid option for like booths.
Yeah, and people did ask that question.
Yeah, they did ask, right?
Yeah.
Like they asked it. It's like, well, I mean, it's not one of those things where
people
say,
like, can we zoom in? You know, like how you gonna zoom what you're doing, right?
Yeah, like how do you zoom a walk around event?
Yeah, and like, well, can we have like 10 minutes to just zoom in on me? Like, so want me to give you an advantage and take it away from everyone else that actually shows up?
Well, you know,
how unfair is that?
I do think about like how to play with future tech toys to like maybe like answer the mail on that, because I mean, I guess what you could do is maybe you could get like those Meta Ray Bans, but I would insist on Meta sponsorship. But you could get the Meta Ray Bans and do like a POV, kind of walk around, and then like maybe have people do like send you their questions and like do it that way. I mean, if you want to have like fun with the toys, the tech. I could see it, but you know, as you said, like the events already have a lot of logistics, and if you want to add yet another logistical wrinkle,
so I have to trust that your internet is going to find where you're at to do stuff.
Well, you have to trust that like the internet there, like nothing's gonna time out or go to sleep.
Yeah.
And like you have the right like Zoom or Google Meet subscription tier where it doesn't turn off in an hour, right? Like
the AV stuff, you make sure the right thing muted and the right thing working. You know. You
have to make sure all the startups are okay with their stuff being recorded, because all that stuff has AI note taking by default now.
Yeah, you're right.
That's a thing. Oops. This founder's pitch and all of that is all like. Yeah, it's a lot to think about, but I feel like I will speak as like a judge, so we participated. It was well worth it coming, and like, you know, even it being a half day event, I really appreciate it, and I kind of had that impression. I will say that this is my first like Seattle Tech Week doing like the whole thing, like being featured, like hosting event, all of that, and I feel like we went. At least in my experience and stuff, I was like involved in like 3 for 3. Yeah. And then I guess and then the other 2-ish events that I also went to, totally worth it.
Nice, yeah. So one thing we have to figure out here in Seattle, like, of course, Seattle's like great in the summertime, but we do all of it. We pack a year's worth of events into those too much, right? We got to figure out a way like kind of spread out. Like, obviously, you don't go out inside in January because the weather sucks, but we got to figure out something out where we can do events throughout the year. You know, just not packed with like this little small summertime.
You know, that's interesting, because that's one thing that the GeekWire article is talking about, you know, where the Seattle AI unicorns, just the unicorns in general, it's like, you know, that's one thing people, I feel like, don't talk about in the Bay, is like, it's always sunny. Yeah. A lot of time it's sunny and nice in the Bay. Yep. And like, you know, you can do a lot more patio deals there.
Yeah, not so much here.
Yeah, not so much here. Now, meanwhile, you know, you have New York, but you New Yorkers, you know, they're trudging through to ring the bell in Wall Street in the snow. They're built different. That's a different thing. They're going to cut deals all year round, but
6 foot blizzard, we just walk right through it.
Yeah. No big deal. No big deal.
Cool. Hey, Sierra, thanks for doing this. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. This is always a lot of fun.
Cool. All right. Yeah, thank you for your time. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, and good luck with the launch, and keep us posted.
Yes. And to our listeners, thank you for